Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another scene set in Edessa: The Dark Crusade, Season 2. On this evening, we set our scene far outside the city. Well, not too far. Just outside the western farmlands, in between the farmlands and the wall. A Cainite from a great distance away has made a very spontaneous journey in, well, search of fortune, absolution. What do Cainites search for? They tend to search for similar things. A lot of it comes down to power. But this particular Cainite, with his little pack mule, for the past week or so, has been making his way across the waste of the Edessa County, largely just plains of dust and heathland. Not a lot really out here. On occasion, a light forest, but not much of it. Very sparse, interspersed. He's been making his way across the many different domains of this county in particular. Across the domain of Tebessel, Bera, Sarouge. Bera, perhaps, despite its small size, quite intriguing. It appears to have gone through a very rapid series of princedoms as of late, each providing their own trials, their own reasons to stay and leave, with their own colourful cast of characters. But this journey appears to be reaching its conclusion as the focal point of our scene, Menmon, begins to reach the Edessan gates, making his way past the farmlands and the wilds, having to navigate your way around the occupying army of the farmlands. It appears a large group of militants have set up shop there and are shaking down would-be travelers.
Okay. Well, Memnon would keep to himself. Maybe wrestle with his donkey. Does Memnon get the sense that that's what these men are doing? Shaking down?
Yeah, fairly overtly shaking people down. It's everyone in town is kind of very much on edge regarding this army. In fact, it's kind of curious how it's able to remain here so close to the city without any real interference. They don't replace the City Watch, but the City Watch don't seem to really be interfering too much in their affairs.
Is it possible if Memnon could he would like to buy their gear in passing. He wants to kind of get an idea of quality. Like, are these guys just farmers with pitchforks, or are Are they like brandishing like quality steel?
And they're professional soldiers and seem fairly well equipped. Perhaps not the best equipment you've ever seen, but definitely equipment in terms of the armaments they wear, probably mechanically superior to your own. Um, of course, you're a talented craftsman, but in terms of in terms of like the money it would take to outfit like a large group of soldiers as well, a fair amount of money. Um, it's kind of hard to gauge just how many soldiers there are because you kind of go through town. You're not there too long, and they're not like in one giant camp or anything.
Right.
There is actually a military camp that you can spot not too far away because the torches are lit. But that's about half a mile out.
Mm.
Actually, that's not true. It's probably about a mile out. Um, uh, and a lot of them seem to reside there, but also a lot of them seem to reside within the town now. Um, but yeah, City Watch don't really seem to interfere with them unless there's like they only seem to interfere. The only incident you see of them interfering is when things get really violent and swords are brandished, in which case the City Watch comes in to calm everyone down. Um, but they don't seem to interfere with the shakedowns themselves or the sort of um, suspicious and shady activities they indulge in. They don't act like thugs in a sense. Like, they don't just walk up to people. Rather, it's sort of it's an implicit thing. It's more like it's implied. There are implications made. There's a lot of
Mhm.
double speak.
Mhm.
Very much, very much like as if in the modern day, as if you were to they'd be more comparable to the mafia than like a street gang.
Right,
Um,
right. A protection racket.
yes, basically a protection racket.
Awesome. I love it. Um, okay. Well, yeah, Memnon is he's gonna take all that in. Himself, he thinks this is quite a very interesting and maybe a profitable circumstance, seeing that they have the quality of the gear that they have. Perhaps somewhere down the road, they may need a blacksmith to keep their armors oiled and their weapons sharp. But for tonight, he needs to unpack and water his donkey. He has other concerns. So, yeah, he would proceed on unless anyone tries to stop him.
There is at one point where you get the same spiel that most other travelers or residents of this little hamlet get, but uh, you have dominate. It's pretty trivial for you to tell them to go away.
Yeah, he would just tell him to move.
Mm. And they will move on, very disturbed over this fact, but nonetheless, they do not bring you harm. They swiftly move on to another target, which is perhaps less invasive. And you make your way up to the city gates. It's not too hard to get in. The city is opened back up. It was less open to business when a certain issue with disease and vermin was in town, but things have the cities began to open back up again. So yes, it's not too difficult for you to get into the city. However, you are entering from the west side. So could you make me a quick perception awareness roll?
Ooh, I got no awareness, but I'll just have to use my perception.
Hmm.
Is this sight based? Would my acute sense come into play?
No, it's more of a general gut feeling thing. But
Um,
there is also something else I should mention before you enter. As you kind of pass through the hamlet, there is something of note in the sense that there's a hamlet. You pass through the hamlet, and then as you go along, there is a trail about 200, 300 meters from the hamlet that about a third of a kilometer out that leads up a hill to a chapel, which just kind of overlooks the town in a way. And then further on, closer to the walls, there is actually a trail, and you think you can see like a kind of a whole, um, how to say, like a band of caravanners set up. Quite a lot of caravans set up, like a few dozen,
around this
along the
church.
trail.
Oh,
No, away from the
oh.
church. It's further up. There's a detour. You're going along the main trail,
Mhm.
and then you're heading from the hamlet. So on your left, about a third of a kilometer out, there's a trail that leads up to a chapel which kind of overlooks the hamlet, and then further down, about another third of a kilometer in, so about just over half a kilometer in, outside of this hamlet, fairly close to the walls of town, there is another trail that leads to a bunch of caravans. Um,
Okay.
uh, but yeah, other than that, there's nothing really worth noting.
Okay. All right. So let me roll that perception for you. 3 dice.
Okay. Funny enough, successes on this are really bad. So, so you enter through the gates. Everything feels fairly normal at first.
Mhm.
Um, you get through. City Watch kind of lets you through. You don't seem suspicious or anything. Um, you aren't really given a lot of hassle, unlike the hamlet outside of the town. The City Watch here doesn't really shake you down or anything. In fact, they're very much, but very, very, very by the book about things. Um, and let you through, seeing that there's really nothing to really hold you over. Um, you seem like uh, curious, if completely normal individual. But it's when you step outside sort of this like holding area, kind of like it's an open sort of like a what's the word for it?
Plaza.
Plaza. Yeah, kind of like so you enter through the portcullis. There's a sort of area where the guards can come in. There's a portcullis, then there's a gates on the other side. Yeah, it's a little plaza where they can basically stop you and like look you over and stuff. But
Oh, like a checkpoint. Like,
yeah, basically a checkpoint. I'm trying to find the word for it. There's a word for it's like an open antechamber, I guess. Um,
oh yeah. It's like it's a checkpoint, but there's some kind of structure just to funnel people through.
yeah, and there's
Yay.
like a different system for people who are like walking or people who are mounted or taking like you that you have an animal, you have a pack animal with you. Um, but yeah, yeah, you head on through, and you get into the city proper. Um, it's only after a few minutes of kind of heading into this district. It should be noted you're encouraged to visit Abraham Fountain because you're entering through this way. City Watch knows that to you.
So wait, what was that about courage?
The City Watch kind of as you pass through do actually note to you um, to visit Abraham's Fountain,
Oh.
considering it is a place of great pride for the city and a pilgrimage site for pretty much every faith, every Abrahamic faith.
Hmm.
Not a big deal.
Oh, okay.
Um, Actually, some of them just like wonder if that's why you're here at all. Um, there's a big reason why a lot of travelers come through here, other than for trade.
Oh, if anyone was to ask me, I would tell them, Menmon would tell them that he's here to set up shop with the Smiths Guild um, in the morning. Wink, wink.
Ah, you want to make your way to the Merchants District then? Yeah, it's just through Baldwin's Gift.
Well, I guess from this gate, I would have to pass through the fountain, some part of it.
Yes, and you've gotten two successes on your awareness roll. So, what begins to happen after a few minutes of going through Abraham's Fountain? Um, First of all, there are several events of note that seem occurring. Um, there is, as you pass by the fountain, you begin to feel a very eerie sensation. It's like a strange sense of revulsion or like uh, forgotten feelings of guilt and remorse. It's almost, um, I wouldn't say human, not human, and actually quite far from it. Um, but you feel very wrong here. You don't feel right here. Like you actually feel contrary to your sort of fairly assertive sense of self. You actually feel quite isolated and almost weak here. Like you
Mm,
get a very real sense of you don't belong here. You feel very pushed out of this area, and that kind of only seems to intensify as you head deeper into this part of the city. Um, and it actually
mm.
reaches something of a climax when you kind of pass by the fountain itself. Like it gets worse and worse and worse. It's almost like you're just like you're being forced to walk up a stairway, yet you don't actually want to see what's at the top of it.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I could see Memnon maybe like trying to speed up his walk, being a little bit more aggressive with his donkey,
Mm.
because the feeling he's getting from this place is like he just wants to hurry up and.
Can you make me a quick courage check?
Sure.
Because it gets really bad around the fountain, dangerously so. Like you can feel your blood. It's almost like it doesn't normally flow, but it almost feels like it's curdling.
Right. I got a 10, 4, 5, 3, 5.
Yeah, you're able to maintain composure. It's you do feel your beast leap out a little bit, like it wants you to get out of here. It's trying to force you to leave this place. But you're able to, in true La Sombra fashion, just put it back in its damn place.
Yeah, holding it together.
Mm. There are a few things odd that you see. The first thing you see is at the fountain. There seems to be a road woman, um, fairly, grayish brown beige color. It's not colored robes at all. Um, she looks quite young, but she's like peering into the fountain. Like she almost looks like she looks like she's looking for something inside the fountain itself. She isn't touching it. She's kind of got her hands at the edge of the fountain, and she's just kind of peering in and looking around. She doesn't really seem to register you at all. She seems very focused on her task. She seems to be so focused on this task, in fact, that she seems to completely lose focus of anything else happening around her. It's this person. Um, she's kind of got bright red hair, which strikes you as a bit unusual for this area of the world. Um, she definitely stands out from a sort of physical appearance point of view. Doesn't look native to the area. Looks like very European. The other thing is that there seems to be a little bit of hustle and bustle, not too far away from the fountain as well. Kind of its own little area. There seems to be not preaching going on, but there seems to be someone who is performing faith healing and kind of hearing people's desires, and like it's a sort of it's part faith healing, part confessional, and that people are confessing their sort of wrongs and their sins to this woman in white. And she in return seems to be granting them boons in return. If there's something that stands out to you, she is very pale. Very pale. She is also, in spite of that though, she looks stunningly beautiful. She's quite tall and quite gaunt. And yeah, has like a very white, kind of deathly white skin. But her hair is kind of almost like strands of gold. Her eyes are kind of a bright blue, and she looks, in spite of her kind of deathly pallor, almost like almost grimly angelic in a way.
Can I use my perception in conjunction with something to discern if she's...
Yep, perception awareness.
All right, got to go with just my perception again. Let's see. One 9.
So you see, yeah, she get one success. Okay. Well, her skin strikes you as that of the traditional pallor of what you would consider to be of what Canaanites would consider to be one of their own. And you noticed her movements are a little bit manufactured, like they're a little bit stiff in a way. Like they sort of maintain the elegant body language that she has, but you can kind of tell like it's almost like it's pre-scripted.
Okay. So she's definitely putting on some kind of show, and so I gather I can't quite tell if she's mortal or not, but she's something phenomenal. It's not quite normal.
Yeah, she's probably the most beautiful person you've ever seen in your entire life, including your Canaanite years.
Okay.
Like absolutely, completely. Even the most beautiful Toreador does not seem to match this person's grandeur. Nice. Like she seems to like almost turn what would be a sort of a physical flaw in her pale death-like skin into almost sort of this sort of grim beauty, this majesty.
If I was to draw closer, would I have that same feeling that my beast was kind of coming out? Like, you said that it seems like she was conducting some kind of confessional, some kind of faith healing.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm not going to like just try to run up on her, but like, is there a certain proximity I can get closer to her?
You feel your beast is, it doesn't recall in like that way. Like it isn't. It's not jumping out of its skin.
Mhm.
Um, but it does feel a bit smaller around here, almost as if. And actually, I think this is where I'm going to give you something free. Um, as in, you don't feel something, like you don't feel anything reach out and touch your beast, but you can feel something in her. Maybe she is a canine and she has a beast, or maybe it's something else, but it makes your beast hesitant.
Okay. So, oh, yeah, okay. So I would say Memnon suggests that like this person has enough personal power in some way that instinctively he wouldn't fuck with this person. Not
Hmm.
right now, not like this.
The world feels slightly more drained of color around her as well. And she also notices you.
Okay.
She doesn't seem to approach you or anything. She just continues on her on her little mission, but she notices you.
Okay.
She definitely notices you. Like she looks at you and kind of gives you a long gaze before turning to her
Okay,
next.
okay. If I could, is there a look I could return to her that just kind of not like I'm trying to stare her down, but like your gaze isn't kind of, I'm not going to avert from your gaze, you know.
Yeah, no, you can kind of stir her down. Um,
What kind of dice pool would you recommend for that?
depends. Well, what are you trying to accomplish with it? Just communicate with her or intimidate her?
Uh, I want to say something like credibility, but not like, oh, I'm definitely this person, but more like,
Kind of want to look like you even in spite of what of like the sort of inherent sort of weight she tends to lend to herself. You aren't cowed by it or intimidated by it.
yeah,
Like you want to maintain
exactly.
composure around her or
Yeah,
look
yeah,
your best.
exactly.
Yeah. I'd say probably charisma expression. Just standard diff.
I don't have expression, but I'll just go with my charisma.
Um, you try and like give off that kind of strong body language, but you look a little bit on edge. Um,
Okay. Oh.
at least to her. You're aware that perhaps you're kind of not expressing yourself as well as you should be. You're trying to look composed, but maybe you're overdoing it a little bit.
Hmm.
Either way, she seems to um, avert her gaze from you once she's approached once more by another member of the populace. She seems to engage with them, and one of them asks is asking for peace for his deceased daughter. The man says or the father says that she's been haunting him, and he's looking to some way to put her at rest. And she uh, she states that she very much can, and that but first they have to admit their wrongs and so on and so forth. And if you continue to watch, this sort of continues. People come with a great variety of issues. Some which like I'm being haunted, or this supernatural thing is happening too. I need something to eat. I want to live. I don't want this city to to take me. It's kind of and then other people are just asking for her blessing, like who appear, and that seems to be honest, the majority of people are just asking for her blessing. Um, and for healings and such things, and they seem to work. But yes,
Oh,
um,
really? He observes. Does he observe something that's like a visible miracle in a sense?
yes, it's not overt. Like there isn't any. Um, there isn't anything. Like there isn't any great supernatural display.
Hmm. Okay,
But
that is.
someone comes up to them with an injury, and she puts her hand over the injury, and it isn't there anymore when she takes her hand off. She does seem
Hmm.
to mutter something to herself whenever she says it, and it takes like a good 10, 20 seconds. Like it's an incantation of sorts.
Can I chance to hear what she says? If I don't understand the words, but at least be able to know what the phrase is, what she uttered.
Yeah, roll just for a perception alertness.
Okay.
Standard diff.
Let's see. Success. 7, 8, 9.
You can't understand the language she talks in. It's completely foreign to you.
Okay.
It's a fairly long run-on sentence, though. Like it doesn't really. There are pauses, but there's nothing that could be considered like a full stop. It's not. There's no separate sentences. It's just one long incantation with very small gaps in it.
Okay. But did I at least hear enough that if I was to like later on at some point in time try to like recall it in memory, I would
Yeah,
have
yeah, yeah, you
made
could
something
recall it
else.
in memory. You might want to write it down though, or at least have phonetics, because it is. It again, it's one long run-on sentence.
Okay.
So there might be at some point you might want to just write it down so you can remember better, because you don't have the eidetic memory merit if I recall.
Right, right. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess seeing this, Memnon is intrigued, but I think he'd figure that going down this path of mystery would probably consume his night, and he has other things to do. So he might move on, unless anyone interacts with him or stops him.
The entire clan would do well to learn from you. Uh, um, yes, you move on. She sees you off. She like looks at you as you go. Um, like she does seem to pay like undue attention to you, like in regards to everyone else around her. Like she does seem to single you out. But
Ooh,
you're able
nice.
to you're able to leave. She doesn't interrupt you or anything,
Okay, cool.
and you're able to make your way to the merchants district fairly simply from there. You have to make your way through Baldwin's Gift. It's a fairly it's a sort of middle class area of town. Um, there are it's largely residential. Um, there is a tavern there or an inn, but it's largely residential. There are a few shops on its edge near the merchants district, kind of catching sort of the overflow from the central market and the merchants district there, kind of where all the areas intersect. There's definitely quite a lot of shops there. There's a particularly large one, which deals with livestock mainly. Um, but I'll give you the name for it later. I can't remember the name for it now. But
Well,
you're able to make your way to the merchants district from there. Funnily enough, the merchants district and the guild halls actually share quite a lot of guilds. The merchants district has the guild hall for your particular guild, or the one that you're associated with. I'm just going to quickly look up important information on the city. See which one. Yes, you're open for the Smiths Guild, also known as for some of the weaponsmith guilds. That's largely what they're renowned for, really just arms trading.
Right, right.
Um, it's actually not that far into the district itself. It's you're heading in from northeast side of Baldur's Gift, so it's actually on the southwestern side. So it's actually not that far in.
So the northeast side of Baldwin's Gift? Okay.
And you don't have Blush of Health on right now, do you?
No.
That's fine. Just double checking. Yeah, you're able to make your way into the city. The Merchants District is a bit different from Baldur's Gift. Baldur's Gift has a fairly strong city watch presence. The
Mm-hmm.
Merchants District is almost as if it's under martial law, but people could still do business.
Let's see. This is when I wish I had politics, but yeah.
Yeah, there's like a guard around every corner. Like there is not any part of the area which doesn't have a guard. And you seem to well, you notice like kind of as you walk in after a few minutes, you do seem to be recognized as an outsider of sorts. Like there are a couple of eyes. Like you just notice like one person just kind of giving a kind of a heavy glance.
I think, given Memnon's nature, he would definitely not, turn away from their glance. He'd just give them a look like, well, what are you looking at?
They look away when they realize you're looking at them. It's only like a couple people. But you kind of do get the feeling like of being watched. Not followed, but definitely watched. You don't notice the same people like on every street corner. Like you're pretty sure you're not being followed.
That's good. All right.
Be able to make your way to the Weaponsmiths Guild guild hall. It's a fairly sizable building. They have most of it is so as you walk in. So I should say it's like a 3-story building.
Okay.
Fairly large. The front of the building is actually just a sort of small open space, which leads into a larger area where it does appear like this is like a kind of a big hub for doing business, but it appears like all of the weapons and like armaments are brought in off-site. Like there's no forge here or anything.
See.
You do notice like some outside, like there is a small layers, several outside, but not inside. Kind of off to the sides of the building. You probably noticed if they do make anything here, it's probably in the back.
Okay, so they have like assigned workstations somewhere away from the main thoroughfare of the building.
Yeah, they don't have like all the dangerous equipment where they do business. And there is I'll just say as you explore the building, like there are people actually still doing business here even in the middle of the night. Merchants District is very busy at all times, and on the second floor there are a lot of like smaller rooms for like private dealings. There is a few. Most of them are locked. You probably guess some of these they keep a lot of their goods here. And on the third floor appears to be another place for doing business, but this appears to be like the main hall, like where all the guild reps would meet and stuff. It's like for in-house business to business, not individual, not personal business.
Right. Okay.
This appears to be more for effectively merchant politics, basically.
Okay. I guess Memnon would if they know of Vasily, his contact in the guild. He just wants to present himself, let him know that he's here. If there's anyone that could relay that for him.
There are several individuals in discussions. Let's see. You have about 3 individuals kind of at a table talking, discussing matters with each other. They notice you come in, but don't pay you any mind. There's also another. You also see your own, your patron, and he seems to be discussing business with a fairly slightly short man of Arabic descent, kind of a thick beard, heavy sideburns, wearing a turban, wearing fairly fine robes for someone of his standing in society. They have kind of fine embroidering to them, and he seems to be discussing business with them. He looks like he's in his like late 50s, maybe early 60s.
Okay. Yeah, by the way, when I said contact, I did mean to say the patron. My contact in the guild hall, my patron. All right. Do I need to make a roll to tell if this man is Muslim or not? Or is it just obvious?
He looks it.
Okay, because this is where my vengeful flaw would come in. Yeah. Do I roll willpower or do I have to spend willpower?
I think it says you have to spend it.
Spend it?
So
okay.
you spend it and you basically suppress it for the whole scene.
Okay, yeah, I'll spend the willpower. You might see. I don't know how you want to play it off, but I would think that Memnon would not right away necessarily be courteous in interrupting their conversation. He'll approach Vasily and just say, "Good evening, Vasily. I've arrived."
Both men kind of turn to face you, like, kind of little bit of a double take in that, like, sort of half surprise, but not entire. Your contact knows you as Menmon, right?
Yes.
Okay. In which case, I'll put on my generic guy accent. Because I can't do 101 accents. I apologize. I'm so sorry. I apologize if all of these NPCs sound similar. Menmon. Good to see you again. I take it your trip went well.
That it did. And thank you again for giving me this opportunity.
That's quite all right. If anything, I must thank you. Your craftsmanship is quite fine. In fact, I was just discussing you with a colleague of mine here. This is Omar Shadid, and the man in question kind of perks up, stands up, like has kind of a really big, broad grin on his face, like in a state of perpetual happiness, and just says, good evening. You must be Menmon, yes? Yes, I've heard so much about you. An absolute pleasure to meet you.
Um, just quick question: Did Memnon bring the donkey in with him or not? Like, would they have
Probably,
made him like?
probably not. You'd have probably
They would
tied
have
it to
made.
like a thing
Okay.
outside.
Just in my head, I kept seeing the donkey. Anyway,
No donkeys.
um, yeah. Memnon will kind of give him like just a polite nod, like Omar, was it?
Oh, Mashadid, yes, yes. I've heard of your work. I hear it is quite fine. Quite fine indeed.
I took what I've learned from my former master to heart. The secrets of steel intrigue me.
Oh, I can't even begin to imagine. I'm sure you'll do magnificently for yourself here.
I seek to perfect my skill and ply my trade, nothing more.
Yeah. And either way, it is good to have you here. I'm not actually a representative of the Smith Guild. I'm actually just here as an associate of the Merchants Guild. Uh, our two organizations have fairly close ties, you see. But yes, if I may ask, did your journey go well? You look a little bit pale.
I am tired and I have traveled long. I perhaps need a good night's sleep. Should I roll a subterfuge for that?
Yeah, it should be noted he looks quite pale as well.
Okay. Let's see.
Not as pale as the woman in the Abraham's fountain, but definitely pale. And you can just roll
Uh,
perception awareness for more.
okay. Um, the dice pools would be the same, but should it be a charisma or a manipulation?
Manipulation subterfuge. If you're trying to obscure or hide information.
Okay. If it was standard difficulty, 2 success, 7, a 6, and a 10, but there was a 1.
I'll have him roll against you. I really need to learn to use my shortcuts. Okay. Okay, yeah, defender wins, so you win. So he's not really able to take too much away from what you say.
Okay, cool. And yeah, there was a perception roll he said to make.
Perception awareness, yeah.
Scored an 8.
1 success. Okay, so you get one extra piece of information. Humans wouldn't really notice this because it's not something they really pay attention to, but to canines it's an abnormality. And you notice like he's not respirating.
Okay. Memnon will, keep that to himself. Maybe just between him and Omar, he gives him a eye up and down. He will say, well, Omar, then maybe you're the man I should speak to. There is a companion of mine. I sent him ahead of myself to prepare my lodgings. He has the more social graces I lack to do the trade of what work and crafts I make. If I could send him to you, or if you could see that he is in accordance with the rules of the guild, it would be a great honor to me.
One second is. Yes, yes. I believe one of my colleagues ran into him. Yorin, was it?
Yes, Yorin is his name.
Ah. In which case, could I do you regret the service of pulling you to one side for a moment? I'll just be a few minutes of your time.
If Vasily here doesn't mind, that would be fine.
If you have matters of business to discuss, right on ahead. I'll still be within the building. Just don't leave me all by myself now. And yeah, but he'll give you your space.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, Memnon will, follow Omar. That's where he wants to go.
He'll take you to a separate room. One of the private rooms. Small table, cute little decorations. Nothing to really. It's well maintained. It looks fairly plain and Spartan though. Just a stone building with a wooden table. Well, stone room.
Okay, I guess he just take a seat.
I believe we may have had a, shall we say, misunderstanding. I take it Yoren belongs to you, yes?
In a sense of one or two, yes, he is mine.
Normally, I would be much more eloquent about this, but I'm not sure how much you know about the state the city is in, so I shall cut to the chase. Can I ask which clan you hail from?
One of shadows, the La Sombra.
Good. As am I. You see, there was we ran into yeah, Yorin and brought him in. We had concerns the city has an issue with. Not too much in the know right now. But with that, no, he can. We can return him to you. I do apologize. He was kept quite safe and sound. He wasn't put under any duress, but and he was. We caught him running around the merchants district, La Sombra domain, and being unaccounted for. We had to ask him a few questions.
Memnon, he nods. I understand. There is no offense taken.
Again, I do apologize, but thank you for your deference on the matter. In which case, as a new arrival, I should probably introduce you to our former Primogen and Seneschal. Well, see, I'm not sure how much you know about the city of Edessa as it stands, but the prince has met an untimely end, and praxis is still being decided upon.
You'd see Memnon try to like follow Omar in some of the words he says. Uh, a praxis, not quite sure I understand that word.
He tilts his head a little bit, but the title of prince is still being decided upon. Multiple parties have a vested interest in acquiring the position.
A power struggle. That I understand.
Quite. Our clan used to, well, our clan's primogen used to hold the title of seneschal before the prince fell.
Does the seneschal wish to become prince?
No, I could not say that. I am not but a lowly neonate, and I doubt he would divulge such information to me. It would be most unwise. But he will definitely have a hand in who becomes prince if he is not becoming it himself. Alas, I am glad to have another clanmate here. More power to us, the more the merrier.
Memnon is kind of giving him like a blank stare, but he'll eventually say, "So, what of me does the clan require in this matter?"
Well, that depends. No one really expected you to arrive here. You were something of a surprise to all of us. We only knew you were coming after your goal was found here.
You see, Memnon kind of look to the side, thinking of something. Out of character, he's thinking he's gonna have to teach Yarn a little bit about squealing, but that's his own business. Right, Memnon says. I wasn't lying when I said that I wanted to perfect my trade. Well, perfect my skill and to ply my trade. Though I do not have any desire to be lost in the maelstrom of a power struggle, I will honor my sire's blood. I don't know what more I could provide other than my crafts. But you are welcome to ask.
It is not for me to ask. I'm sure the seneschal will be asking far better questions than I ever could. He is an honorable man. Just be straightforward and honest with him. He does not take well to deceit in his presence. It has ended poorly for those that have attempted to do so. But I think you'll find him quite capable and accommodating, so long as you are upfront with him.
I don't have much to hide.
Oh, then I think you and him will get along swimmingly. In which case, I hope you can swim. But yes. And yes,
Yeah, Memnon's got like 2 in
horrible
athletics. No, Memnon would probably be like, yes, I can swim.
Excellent. Well then, the seneschal takes to finding others rather than
of us finding him, but there is a meeting the clan was to have. It would be an apt opportunity for you to introduce yourself and have everything explained to you. This city is in a very unique situation. Elders being assassinated in their own domain, shadow wars, manufactured plagues, so it's quite a mess.
Plagues, you say?
Oh yes, a very from what I heard down the rumor mill is that a very old Nosferatu showed up to our domain, wanted something from the prince, decided to infect most of the city with some sort of horrible disease to acquire it, and when he didn't, things got very bad. I was not fair for that, but one among my clan was Ancilla, the seneschal of the domain over. From what I hear, it was quite bloody and something largely beyond the understanding of lessers like myself.
I see.
A very different game being played.
Yeah, Menmon will just raise his eyebrows like, yeah, none of his business. But he'll say, well, would I would go and attend this meeting if only someone could reach my servant for me and have him deliver my donkey, my wares to my new haven.
Yes, of course, we can arrange for that. Should not be a problem.
Very well. Where can I find this?
Sorry,
I'm going.
I handle some of the more, shall we say, local endeavors for our clan here, so I can most assuredly help you with that.
Then where could I find this meeting?
I shall take it there myself. I'm sure you have seen the many the many spires that dot the merchants district. There are like quite a few spires that go up like about 10, 20 floors.
Right.
In the merchants district. Kind of like massive hubs of business for the wealthy. Like the very wealthy, like nobility and the ultra rich of the merchant class.
Yeah, Memnon, he nods. Yes, I've seen them. This will take some getting used to, knowing my way around the place.
Of course. If you ever need a tour guide, I'm more than happy to assist. And you will kind of open the door. I suppose you would like to say farewell to your contact here. Let him know you are leaving before we head out.
Yes, it would only take me a moment.
Of course. I'll be waiting for you outside.
Yeah, when Memnon gets to speak to Vasily, he'll almost make it seem like he's just straight up business. He'll ask him if there are any orders that need to be filled, any requests. Does he have any projects for him to work on? Yep.
Yeah, looks like the city watcher of the nobles court are actually looking for a new armor. So you'll have a small project to work on.
Okay. Memnon's going to say that I'm about to make a lie here. He's going to say that he needs to make his prayers, meditations during the day. Would it be all right if he can access the forge during the evening? I'll make that roll.
You can make that roll, yeah. We'll determine his response. He's just a filthy human, so he doesn't get to roll against you, lol. One success. You're a little bit sketch, but I mean, your request is a little bit odd, but who's he to argue? You're good for business. So yeah, he's more than happy to let you use the Fortune Knight.
Cool.
No weight off his back.
Got that covered. So then, yeah, Memnon will just thank him and tell him that he'll see him again soon. He's going to go set himself up. Which may not be a really good phrase for a Lasombra to say.
Oh my God. So.
Oh yeah,
I apologize for the whispering.
Yeah, he'll definitely then catch up with Omar. Lead the way.
Omar is waiting for you outside. And when he sees you, he says, you are finished? Excellent. I shall take you, it is not too far away, just about 10 or 15 minutes. The rests on the meeting place will be on one of the middle floors of the spire. Now they are quite selective about who they let in, so just stay by me when we enter. There won't be any questions asked. Of course.
Will nod.
Unless you have the money to be around, in which case.
Right.
Oh yes, even in the midst of crisis, business is always booming in the merchants district. And yeah, he kind of goes on about the district and stuff. Kind of resorts to some more silent, safe matters when in public with you.
On the way there, there's one question Memnon would ask Omar, and if he knows if like there's a library in the city.
Yes, there is one in Justinopolis Mount. I believe the Cappadocians were in control of it last I checked. It was never their domain, but they more or less ran the place.
Are we on good terms with the Cappadocians?
We used to have a very close relationship with the Cappadocians, but with the death of the prince, this is all up in the air now. They look to be moving away from us and into the arms of Eventual. An unwise move, honestly. We are poised to take control of the city. If they knew it was good for them, they'd stick with us. Looks like with the death of the prince, they're running around like headless chickens, looking for any form of shelter.
Their pride is wounded.
Indeed. The prince's child is still in the city in the most powerful of his clan, but he never did have a politically astute mind. He was always the academic. You also have New arrival in town. I believe he called himself a merchant of bronze. Wouldn't be surprised if he's involving himself in these affairs. He always looked a bit, shall we say, sharper than his fellows.
Does he have the mind to match his wits? His appearance, I mean, sorry.
He prefers to wear a mask.
Memnon would like raise his eyebrows at that, but shrug it off like, whatever suits his fancy.
Yes. Has a bit of a limp. You'll know him when you see him. Masked man with a cane. Quite distinctive. Hard not to stand out like that. But yes. I think you'll find the library quite accommodating, so long as the Cappadocians have not collectively lost their minds. They never held domain over the area, so unless they've suddenly decided to become very expansionistic in the loss of their strongest, then I think you should be fine. But do be careful where you go in this city without a prince. No one is enforcing the traditions. Everyone is fair game now. So do be careful where you go. I'd recommend not heading to the slums or Abraham's Fountain or Baldwin's Gift. Ventral territory, that one.
I had came from Abraham's Fountain.
Hmm.
There was a strange woman there. She wore white. Does that sound familiar?
Kind of cocks his head. I can't really say. I do not go there, and I haven't. I can only think of one person, but if that's the case, I must say you are quite fortunate to be standing in front of me. But frankly,
Oh.
I could not really say. I don't really know many people fitting the description. I only know it secondhand. I'm sure the Seneschal of Timron will be able to tell you though. Her name's Madeleine, Lady Madeleine. Was the former Seneschal of this city 100 years ago. Can't recall why she left.
Boredom, perhaps?
Personal pursuits of some kind. Details are vague. I don't know much of it. Never thought to ask. I did not. I was not a Cainite back then, so rumor hissy. I'm aware there was some sort of deal made that she and the old prince were going to step down, peaceful transition of power, all that. But I can't say why she left the city itself.
Yeah, Memnon just furrows his brows. Even though he's giving Omar his ear, just the thought of politics kind of just disgusts him.
Get used to it. This guy doesn't shut up. But yeah. You and Omar are able to make your way over to the so-called one of the spires of the Merchants District. Merchants District, it should be noted, is like it's not the nobles' quarter, but it's very close. It's obviously an extremely wealthy area that's well maintained, well guarded, has a seemingly healthy community. Like, there's very little crime. people seem to be friends with each other across the street, this sort of thing. Not that much residential. It's as it's the merchants district. It's largely like a like a big commercial area. Um, a bit more upper class than a central market.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely like much higher end, and there are definitely more wealthy residences here. But yeah, and you're able to make your way to the spire, where you make your way up to the fifth floor. When you enter the spire, it is the walls are decorated with kind of elaborate kind of painted tiling, um, usually in blues and whites that contrast each other well. The air itself is like for the ultra wealthy. Like it's very heavily guarded. It's not two guards in front; it's like half a dozen. Um, one moment, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
No, they do not. I don't think. Oh, I think Irene would be there.
Okay.
Um,
I have
but-
no idea yet. We'll see.
well, Madeline is arriving just now, having recently just gotten back to the city due to some business outside the city. But well, yeah, she is. She enters, or she is inside the place, probably heading to the meeting as well. And she will stop when she sees Omar and this new person she hasn't seen before. And yeah, she will just look at them, or raise an eyebrow, and she will just go over to Omar and just say, "Ah, good evening, Omar."
I think Chris had to BRB.
As well. Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Well, then, as Omar
Swell.
embraces
I'm
his
here.
corridor. Oh, okay.
Okay, sorry.
Yes, Memnon, you see a woman, probably like she she looks as though she's mid-20s. She's probably younger, but you know, people lived a bit harder in that time, so can't really. But a fairly young woman, um, very beautiful, black raven, almost completely black hair. Um, she's packed. She's wearing merchant's clothing. It's not like high fashion, or it's not like oozing like this is. It's fairly plain clothing, and she's just smiles, and she just says she will start with saying good evening to Omar, of course, now that he is around again.
Ah, Lady Madeleine, how good it is to see you again. Or should I say Seneschal Madeleine?
It is good to see you again, Omar. I am so happy that we could assist you with. I enjoyed the comforts of your shop once more, not too long ago. It was good to be back.
That is quite the right. I hope your dealings went well.
Better than the last time.
Excellent, excellent. And is Irina?
No? Although, like, if you want to, she can come walking up.
Yes.
Okay. Then, yeah, Irene enters as well. And she looks like, I mean, yeah, she's not quite as stunningly beautiful as Madeline, but still, fairly pretty. She has a pale skin, but not like vampiric white. She looks a little bit like a mixture between European and Greek. Has strawberry blonde hair. And is dressed in like a green green dress that kind of matches the color of her eyes. She'll walk up to Madeline, Omar, and a new person and curtsies very, very
Lady Irene, how good it
according
is to
to
see you
etiquette.
again as well.
Sir Shadid, it is a pleasure.
You are looking beautiful
Lady
as
Madeline.
always.
Thank you.
But before I get carried away, I should introduce to you a new friend among the shadows. Menmon, this is Lady Madeline, Lady Irene, Ansel and Seneschal of Timoran, neonate and child of the Prince Ulrich.
Out of character, so Madeline's a Seneschal.
Madeline is a Seneschal
Seneschal.
of a separate city. Irene is the child of a prince.
Memnon gives them a polite nod, and he says, "Madam, madam." Just very short and terse. And just for a little descriptive, while Memnon doesn't look disfigured, not necessarily ugly, the man does not look friendly or even mildly interested. And plus, from his attire, you could tell that he's been traveling a while.
Why, Memnon, allow me to be the first, well, one of the first to welcome you. I assume you have specific business in the city, since if I did not know better, I would say that you have had this city as a goal. You have traveled here? You have just arrived, or?
I have just arrived. I was given an opportunity to work with the Weaponsmith Guild, so I took it. And here I am now.
Well, our illustrious clan can always accommodate more of our number. I want to believe that you will be welcomed. Although I must assume that Omar has already spoken of certain unique circumstances in the city.
There is a power struggle at the moment, if I understand that right, Omar?
Yes, no prince, everybody clamoring for it.
Well, a vacuum, perhaps more aptly, since no one has struggled yet, but that will come.
Yes.
So
I'm
sorry.
Time. But I'm sure things will look up for you. There is to be an Elysium in a neighboring town to help settle the dispute. The December will be hosting.
In a sense, my prince and I will be your hosts. I am looking forward to it. And you are, of course, all welcome.
So, if I may ask, Madeline, who is the prospective prince? I would assume one amongst us.
Yes, Prince Ulrich, he was the former, well, Baron and Prince of Edessa. Quite some time ago. Now he rules in Timoran. And I serve as his seneschal as I once did in this city. He is the grandchild of the former seneschal of this city, who we are to meet now, I suppose. All of us.
Ah, yes, I've completely forgotten that time. Oh, if only there was a way to keep track.
Oh well, I merely wished to ask him a simple question, really. I have much to see to with the Elysium so soon opening, but oh well. Yeah, we cannot keep such a honored member of our clan waiting. And Madeline just nods to all of them and begins to head up the stairs.
If Memnon is allowed to, he'd ask Saskia. It's Irene or
Yeah.
Irene.
Irene.
Okay. Given that she curtsied and all that, though he might not have seen such a formality before, he would just ask, "Is Madam the proper title, not Senora or some other in another language, same variable title?"
Lady Madeline does prefer to be called Sister Madeline or Seneschal Madeline. Whichever you prefer, of course.
And yourself?
Oh, she honestly looks surprised that someone is even like considering that. She most certainly had not. um, well, um, you may address me as you wish. I don't hold any titles. My father, from my former life used to be a lord, but I am not quite sure. I have not been called a lady very often in these circumstances, so like I said, whatever you prefer.
I'll stick with Irene for now.
Of course. Shall we? I would not like to keep my great-grandsire waiting.
Well, yeah, he's following.
She'll actually do the thing of hooking her arm in his if he allows her to. Proper lady and gentleman style.
Yeah, I guess he would take the back. I mean, yeah, I guess Memnon would like follow behind instead of like instincts. Like if something goes wrong, he's the first one out the door.
Oh yeah. Have your travels been well?
I have not died.
I am very glad. It would be a new experience to speak to a ghost.
There are such things.
There are such things, I think. So, where have you traveled from?
Across the Sahara, through Iberia, along France, and into Pisa.
Oh, I would love to hear stories of all your travels. I hope one day I'll be able to travel myself. It sounds quite exhilarating.
I suppose you don't want to hear the story of my own liberation.
If it makes for an interesting story, why not?
I will just roll see here if I catch that. I do believe that Madeline will. Like, she's not that far in front of you. And she just. Actually, we'll backtrack a bit. As we're probably standing outside. She'll just. That sounds like a story I would very much like to hear as well.
I was taken from my homeland in bondage, sold into slavery by some Muslim adventurers. Though I sabotaged our entire journey, I poisoned their medicines, I sweetened their wines with lead. I even stole us off course. We were at sea for longer than what their journey had allowed for their supplies and rations. They had called me Bilal the Accursed, turn of phrase. They sold me once we reached Cordova. A nice Christian family took me in. They showed me my trade. And they showed me, well, they were better than my former masters, but they still saw me as property. The same night I met my sires, the same night I liberated myself. He figured that he would have himself a meal. And in their drunken stupor, he slew them in their sleep. Is that the kind of story you wanted to hear, Irene?
Irene's
Blush of health leaves
eyes.
Irene.
Sorry?
The blush of health leaves Irene.
Yeah, most likely. Irene is not used to these kind of stories. I will admit this freely. So, yeah, she actually stops for a moment and blinks a few times. That sounds quite traumatizing. I'm so sorry for you. She sounds, by the way, absolutely genuine.
Yeah, can I just make a perception empathy roll on you? Just
Sure.
to have reason to believe you're lying, but just, I guess, Menmon would at least try to study you. Oh shit! Wow, 2 9s and 2 10s.
Yeah, she is. She's shocked. And yeah, feels very bad for even like asking him about his journey. Well, you know, he's been through so much.
Memnon kind of he recognizes your genuine empathy, but he'll make a comment that says, "Only with force is steel forged," and he'll just kind of leave it at that.
Is he being truthful when he said, like, it seemed very blunt, but it was also quite truthful, right?
Yeah. He wasn't. I understand that it like he was very short and bullet point about it, but
Oh yeah, but
he
like,
was very nonchalant about it.
yeah, but you can also tell, like, you have 4 successes, so you can tell that there is a surprised smile of hope, happiness, maybe, on Madeline's face. That she just seems to gauge you and just seems to just measure you and just seems to stand there and look. And she doesn't say anything, but you get a clear impression that she is studying.
Okay. Well, and his comment, he wasn't really like just whispering that to Irene, so Madeline would have picked it up. Yeah. I mean, I guess if you want, you get the sense that for Memnon, he's over it. He's not traumatized, as Irene says. At least, well, not to himself. Not to himself.
Yeah, Irene seems to study his response, seems to think about that, and will continue to walk while, yeah, definitely in thought. She doesn't necessarily completely agree with him, though, as she's thinking more and more about it, but she understands where he's coming from, so yeah.
Excuse me.
And once everybody kind of finishes, I assume you'll head to the meeting place. Come on, follow me.
Yes.
Everybody follows Omashidi.
Yep.
I heard that piano.
Oh, that was my phone. I'm sorry. I can't believe you guys heard that. Sorry.
We all head on up. Middle floor. At this point, the Lasombra's control over the area becomes apparent. To most, the coat of arms are unrecognizable, but to K-Knights, they are very recognizable, and Lasombra's coat of arms do have a place along the walls. You can see further up, they just become a banner. There's just a banner of the Sombra coat of arms just to make the point that this place is theirs. But you don't go up that far, you just go up to the second floor, not the second floor, like one of the middle floors, so about 10 floors up, where the stairway begins to start spiraling, the tower begins to thin out. There's still enough space for some rooms. And there is a very large private room on one side of the building. How to say this? So you're gonna look it up. It's what you see is as you enter, a very colourful room with kind of blues and reds. Patterns along the walls, usually in crisscrosses. And like almost as if they're like tiled, so it's like a crisscrossing square, and they kind of make up the patterns of the room. The doorway and the windows have arches over them. And they look out, and the windows look out across the city. You can see the entire Manchester District from the side up. And there's large table built into the floor itself, made of smooth stone. And there are several chairs which are closer to thrones in appearance. The ones the knight sits upon are little more than simple chairs. The older, the more powerful, the more respected the kindred is, Kenai is, sorry. The more ornate and comfortable the chair they sit upon. So, and you see these four figures. The woman known as Zoya sits upon not an illustrious river seating, but has a beautiful has some decoration to it. Is well carved. Looks fairly comfortable. The man on the bottom right. Also, I realize this is reversed feedback. So yeah, bottom left, reverse, is Rafik. He sits upon a fairly normal-looking chair. Zoya, the child of the former fabulous Simi, now departed, Rip, sits on a fairly ornate chair, but it's just a chair. The woman in the top left, still on a chair, but it looks more well decorated and far more comfortable than Zoya's.
Chris, I can barely hear you. Just.
I'm whispering.
I know.
So the chair, the woman in the top left, which is a Donya. She sits upon something not a throne, but a far more ornate, a chair of a higher back, literally like higher than Zoya's and Rafik's. Umashadid's chair is much the same. Then you have Lady Katerina, who sits above the rest of them. Who's this person? She is a woman who in some ways looks not too dissimilar to Madeleine. Wears long, fine black robes. They kind of her gown is very long, so it kind of runs along the floor a little bit. She has these sort of long sleeves and these kind of drapes across her arms. And her hair is also very, very long, like runs all the way down her back. She sits above the rest of them on what is basically a small throne, and then you have this man at the far end of the table who sits on what is effectively a stood up throne. Irene, you sit on a chair similar to Adonia's and Amashadid's. Madeleine, you are similar to Katerina in standing. Menmon, you are
unaccounted for. Like, oh, we didn't have enough seats. We weren't expecting company.
Literally, there is room for other La Sombra, but you're a surprise. They had no fucking idea you were coming until like a week ago.
I mean, when there's a seat missing, Irene is just gonna assume that the seat that is probably meant for her, that's Memnon's, because, yeah, you know.
Just in a short gestures towards the seat. Stop! Don't you dare.
Okay.
I mean, I think Memnon would just naturally chill by a window, like sitting on the ledge, just watching what everyone else is doing.
Well, when you enter, everybody will stand for you. And Omashidi will introduce you. Ladies and gentlemen, if I may introduce Menmon, our surprise guest. the man in white robes. Fairly average height, but well toned. Will stand for you. My apologies about the chairs. We weren't expecting you, in all honesty.
Menmon would say, it's no matter. There is no offense. I did not expect to be standing here either. I can stand a little longer, if it suits the host.
We have seats. He'll, have an arm of the abyss pull over a seat for you.
And, yeah, Memnon will take it, well, whenever everyone else decides to sit.
You sit at about Rafiq's level, so because you're an unknown, they treat you as unproven to an extent. Of course, that may change. I'm not going to bother with formalities. And if I may ask, why have you arrived within this domain?
I was given the opportunity to work with the Weaponsmiths Guild, a patron that willingly sponsored me. I seek to perfect my skill and ply my craft. Should I roll manipulation subterfuge again, or?
Are you trying to obscure information from him?
Yeah, there is something that Memnon. Him coming here is definitely, yes, he definitely wants to perfect his skill, ply his trade, but it's a stepping stone. But he doesn't want to say anything more than that. So.
All right, you can roll it.
Like, who wants to hear my life story all the time?
Well, you only need to get 3 successes. He didn't roll that well. You do it. Essential will ask Heather, why Edessa in particular?
Fortune. The man who willingly sponsored me was from Edessa. I only happened to meet him while I was in Italia. So I came here. It could have been anywhere else.
I don't think you're lying there, so you don't have to roll. And he'll just believe you, because that's the truth. I see. Well, we do lack a man of your talents, so I'm sure we'll get along just fine here. Normally, I would give you a more formal and open introduction to the city, but frankly, we are in no position to do that, and it's more likely to get you killed, so I'd rather not. Are you privy to the city's political situation? If you're with Omar, I hardly doubt he's told you.
Omar has endeavored to teach me, though I am sure in the short amount of time I've been here that is all there is to the situation.
To make a very long and complicated story short, two Canaanites, which from my information appear to be well over 1,000 years old, the both of them, attempted to blackmail the princedom by causing plague to spread across the city through advanced use of animalism. When their blackmail attempts were met with silence, they then fulfilled their threats, destroyed the prince and the sheriff, and left.
Is there an attempt to bring them to justice?
Without a prince, not as it stands. One of them was blood hunted prior, but they were able to remain anonymous and effectively go to ground at will. One of them was a Nosferatu. They're notoriously hard to track, and apparently the Nosferatu of this domain did very little, if anything, to track them down themselves. Something that, if they don't comply with our requests for mutual aid, will be made very apparent. As for the other, she appears to be a Cappadocian of repute, although something of an outsider to her own clan.
Was she the one that made this plague?
You cannot say for certain. Possibly. The one who spread it around was most assuredly the Nosferatu. That we can confirm.
I do believe that the merchant of bones, the Cappadocian, did seem to suggest that the plague was necromantic in origin.
Then, likely, if not assuredly, her.
You did indeed imply that.
Although we'll see how reliable their word is in the coming nights.
Memnon's gonna raise his hand real quick and ask if anyone has a quill, parchment.
It's available. There are several.
Yeah.
There are there's a ghoul manservant who tends to your needs.
Okay, he's just gonna write down the phrase he heard earlier at the temple of whatever he can remember of it. He'll actually toss it into the middle of the table and just like he'll describe the woman that he saw at the fountain and say, "I heard her say this. I don't know what it means."
Roll for frenzy.
Really? Roll for frenzy?
No, I'm kidding.
What?
So it could have been. I'm like, was that a spell?
Out of curiosity, what kind of language is it? I mean, Irene is curious enough and knows a little bit about languages.
You speak Greek, right?
Yes, of course. Of course I do.
Intelligence academics. Anyone who can speak Greek can roll this. Difficulty is 9 because Menmon, you'd have written it down through phonetics, for how it phonetically sounded, which isn't necessarily the correct spelling for every word. So
I have
Okay.
1 success.
Give me a moment. Intelligence, academics, you said, right?
Madeline, you can speak Greek?
Yes, I can.
On that, yeah.
Mm. I'll probably not be able to understand it. Yeah, damn. Can I
Just
spend the
roll ahead.
willpower on this?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I will spend the willpower on this. Yeah, I have 1
Actually,
success.
I probably have 2, because I have a specialist. Like my academics is in linguistics, actually.
Oh, yeah. Is that a specialty or an area of expertise?
Area of expertise. Sorry, not
Okay,
specialty.
yeah. In which case, it's not a specialty, but you get to use your full dice. Oh yeah. What's your actually no? Because of your
History.
specific background, you can roll your history for this. Actually, history and linguistics both count for this, to be fair. So
Thank you.
both of you realize there are elements of what could be considered really, really old Greek in his, but it's not actually Greek. You think it's probably a mixed language?
Oh. Mix between which languages?
You know part of it's Greek, but you only got 1 success, so you don't know what the other language is.
I figured. I was kind of hoping I might have been able to speak that one as well.
Require subsequent research. I might just check to see. I'm gonna have to check all your sheets now. God damn it! I don't like you.
Sorry. Well, I'm not a likable person. What can I say?
Don't you dare.
Meh.
No. Where are your damn languages on here?
Okay, I can
No,
just
not
read
you.
my languages to you if
Not
you want.
you.
Oh,
I-
not me.
I
Oh, okay.
actually don't think I have a language section. Honestly, I don't think it's there. So that needs to be done, but yeah.
I don't see you have. You don't have like multilingual either. How can you speak Greek?
The convent.
You start
Like
off with
she
default,
would
then
have to
Violet.
know in the cloister.
you need to take the merit then.
Okay.
Language is a merit.
Alright.
So yeah, sorry, dude. So Irene knows that it's a mixed language. But she only knows
Yeah,
she
Irene
only
will.
knows part of its origins.
She'll pick up the paper and study it. Well, it seems to be at least partially some Greek. Yeah, there's definitely Greek in it, but it does look like there's another language mixed in there as well, which I'm afraid I do not understand.
We can have others look into it.
You said you met this person at Abraham's Fountain?
Yes, Sister Madeline. I had observed their working of miracles, I think is the phrase. Creature, perhaps she was. I'm not certain.
Miracle
Sure.
woman.
I would advise you not to go to that place again. Abraham's fountain does not seem to agree with us. Well, the fountain itself
I think
is.
it's like she's definitely gonna go to that fountain now.
Yes, I did have some trouble passing through the area. It was strange, to say the least.
It is believed that the prophet Abraham himself bathed in the source of water here, and this is the source of the water of the fountain itself being, well, inhospitable.
I don't think Menmon has anything to say towards that. I'm just drinking that in. Okay.
Interesting. Would you mind? Could you perhaps speak these words in like how you heard them?
Yeah, well, Menmon will try, but I don't. What is there something I should roll?
Madeline would probably interrupt the two. I do believe that we have other matters of bit pressing priority or nature. Perhaps the three of us could talk of this afterwards.
We can multitask. We can have someone look into this while looking to our own affairs as well.
Very well.
Needless to say, until this city is a prince, we're not in a position to hunt down this wishing woman.
Most likely not, but it would give us time to study her.
This meeting is purely to set the agenda for the clan going forward, to make sure we are all on the same page, which I'm sure we are, but we can't afford to take pointless risks right now.
Yes, my lord.
Your arrival at the time of our meeting, Menmon, is fortunate. Given a few more nights, the Ventry may have attempted to pick you off as you travelled through their domain.
Was that their people outside of the West Gate?
Particularly foul member of their clan has a small army sitting there, shaking down travellers, primarily to antagonize the remains of the Salubri. But it should be noted, the individual who controls them we are all obligated to inhibit and destroy at every turn. His name is Gerard of Tours.
This Gerard is an outlaw?
An outlaw to our clan. He destroyed a particularly esteemed member of our own, stole his heart's blood, and has been attempting to destabilize our position here for decades. Include not just this city, but the entire county. He's behind many assaults on our leadership within this region. He has failed the vast majority of them, but he's making moves once again.
Does this Gerard have friends?
The Ventry were aligned with the Tremere and the Toreador. The Toreador, however, are in a state of chaos. Many of their own are caught up in acts of infernalism, either intentional or not. Their Primogen and the former keeper is leaving to take the princedom of Bira, leaving them leaderless and in a state of near infernal anarchy. The infernalists have been largely dealt with now, but they are weak, vulnerable. It would not surprise me if they left their service, depending on who becomes Primogen of their clan. But if I recall, the Ventrue have also been making overtures to other clans. The Marcadians.
Sorry. Mhm.
He appears to have been negotiating or been on strong terms with the Merchant of Realms. Would not surprise me if he was attempting to gather up his own coalition to contest ours. And in the wake of all this, you have a bourgeois strolling into the domain, contesting the princedom out of religious fanaticism.
So, who are our friends?
The clans we are aligned with are the Assamites, the Ravnos. One minute. The Assamites, the Ravnos, and the bourgeois.
And the Gangrel is becoming a bit more reliable these days.
More pliable. We'll see how much weight lies behind our words.
It's true. That remains to be seen, but well, we have had less influence over them in the past.
Still, their reliability remains to be seen.
Indeed.
I'm aware that you do have a gangrel sheriff in Timurin, and I respect this. But their tenure for the past 60 years in Edessa has been tenuous. Our immediate concerns should be this. First, to ensure that the Elysium of Timurin goes off cleanly, without violence, without breakings of Elysium. We must project a strong image.
Which is something that I wish to speak of, but please, do continue.
You'll have many Canaanites within your domain. A single unstable Canaanite is like a matchlight to firewood.
This is true. However, the plague winding down does mean that people will not be coming as hungry to this affair, as hungry as I had feared anyway. But still, security, safety must be our utmost concern.
The clan of this city will be backing the Elysium held in yours. So we will be enforcing the rules of Elysium as much as anyone else. I expect everyone here to do their part to ensure that any breaches of Elysium do not go unreported and unpunished.
Sorry.
Oops, sorry.
No, sorry. Menmon would just raise his hand and ask if he could have that in writing as to exactly what the rules are.
He'll give you, actually he'll say, I'm not the prince, but I'm sure he can give you the specific rulings.
I can.
Thank you, sister. Wouldn't want there to be an oversight.
Good. Another concern will be immediately following this Elysium, we'll be shoring up our own power base within the city. I'm aware many of you have gotten a head start on this, including you, Menmon.
How is that, sir?
You have a fairly powerful member of society as a reliable connection before you have even arrived here. Make good use of it, and there will be good things in store for you. If nothing else, you'll at least have a larger share.
And then he nods. In that matter, then, what role will I be playing in service of the clan, given my particular skills?
We have strong financial connections among our clan. It wouldn't hurt, but an active connection to the military of this city would give us the raw force we need to exert the control that we need.
My sire once said, between the two, I'd rather be a man with steel and no gold than a man with gold and no steel, because the man with steel will always better the man with the gold.
And if he does not, at least he has the steel to take it.
I believe that was his
Oh,
meaning.
sorry, yeah, I completely forgot about that. Sorry, I thought he'd better him, as in, like, you're gonna pay him. My bad. Seneschal gets it. I'm done.
No comment.
As an ST, I reserve the right to take spaxies. But yeah. Seneschal say, quite correct. Temporal power is more accessible and useful than internal powers, which are often a means to an end, but internal power stays. Mortals die, the economy wanes, walls rise and fall. But we will always maintain our control over the shadows, our ability to command others, to shatter walls like glass. No amount of time erodes this. It only amplifies it. Our third concern is not just shoring up our own power base, but eroding our enemies. Fortunately, several of them have been quite overt. Gerard has openly displayed his power within the military. His lack of subtlety can be exploited. His contacts, his servants, his followers tracked down. The Merchant of Bones has accrued popularity among the nobility. But he holds the same curse that all Cappadocians share. He can be outmaneuvered socially, politically. The Tremere, on the other hand, have kept to themselves. But we know where their chantry is. This information could be leaked. Tie up their assets while we deal with their allies. No doubt that the Salubri and the Gangrel would jump at the opportunity to tear it down. We've already began the construction of an aqueduct which is going to disrupt the Tremere domain greatly.
An aqueduct?
He kind of looks at you as if he's surprised you don't know what he's talking about.
Well, yeah, Memnon, well, he's done a lot of traveling, not a lot of staying in one place and learning too much.
A watercourse designed to convey water. Transported to different areas of the city to provide clean drinking water to the populace.
Like a river, but made by man.
Yes.
Where does the water come from?
Oh, you'd know that the city has a river that runs through it.
Oh, okay.
There's quite a lot of rivers around the city. But the main one runs through it. Now, I'm going to assume that all of these concerns are agreeable to us, as broad and mutually beneficial as they are. I shall be assigning all of you separate tasks in order to meet these concerns. To dislodge our enemies and bring ourselves to power one way or the other. Irene, continue on the original path that your sire set you out upon. Continue to cooperate with Katarina, solidify your place among the nobility, and use that to cement yourself among the religious of the city.
Yes, my lord.
Seneschal Madeleine, you have done good work so far. Needless to say, someone of status, I'm not going to order you around.
Well, I would heed your wise counsel.
your council with the small folk fills a specific niche. Although I do not wish to rush you into this, for you have an Elysium to host alongside your prince. With your blessing, I'd like to coordinate a proper security force to maintain Elysium's tenants.
Would this be a contingent from Edessa itself, or?
Yes, while the clan, of course, every individual here will be maintaining Elysium's honored guests. You need those who can more directly enforce the Keeper's will.
I shall make the arrangements. I will, however, need to know exactly when these extra security, this detail will arrive, so that they can be led into the city without any disruptions. But other than that,
The details by the end of the night.
very well.
Menmon, you have a course. I do not intend to dissuade you from it. We here do not know you very well, and you clearly know your own talents better than us. So we will trust you to see to your dealings as you see fit.
If anyone is in need of good steel here amongst this meeting, I would be glad to provide my skill simply at the cost of a material necessity. If arms and armament is something you desire.
There is never enough good steel for us or the city. I'm sure you can use this to benefit the clan as well as yourself.
I would be honored.
In which case, I've already given assignments to the others present. Amashadid, you already know your role. Keep to it. You shall be rewarded. All of you, should you keep to your tasks, you will be rewarded and respected for it. Should you fail, however, you will be maligned and punished. Needless to say, I only expect the best from those of the blood. And in these nights, success is our only option. So I very strongly urge you to succeed. That is all. You may leave as you wish.
My lord.
Of course.
I was wondering When you spoke of the attack on the palace, you mentioned there were 2 Knights present. Have you seen a beast there? Controlled by one of them.
And that it was present, yes.
I do not recall I arrived late into the conflict after the sheriff had already been cut down.
See, I was hoping if anyone would know what kind of origins it has.
Again, the Merchant of Bones seemed to, what shall we say, suggest that it was... She pauses for a moment. Soul forged? I am honestly not entirely sure what that entails, but he seemed to know a little bit more about it than I do. I am quite certain that this thing was not supposed to be here in a quite more literal sense.
Mm.
The entire place was quite different. You did not need the powers of the blood to see the spirits of the deceased, for one. Although I did not see it for more than a couple of moments, it was quite clear that the change had happened. And with that, I do believe that made this monstrosity able to, well, interact with things.
I see. My lord, as she looks at the Remagen, with your permission, may I research this further?
Of course.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any further questions?
Memnon would ask, well, first he would say, I know I'm young, and there is much I still have to learn. For my own craft's necessities, are there any ways one can steel themselves against the heat of fire? Powers granted us.
Sorry, OC, are you implying that you wish to learn fortitude?
That or anything that would work. Yes, but yeah, at the basis, fortitude.
My first advice would be as far away as possible. That is a good way to shield oneself.
I doubt that is possible in his line of work.
I did not think of it. Suppose that is quite a legitimate concern.
You can always armor yourself. In the
Yes.
process of
I'm sorry, go on.
your work, I understand that is not exactly optimal. The more innate talents of the blood, however, can be self-taught. If you wish for a mentor, that is, well, the prerogative of a mentor.
I see. If there were one amongst our clan who would take me under their wing, I would endeavor to repay that debt. But I could share a little trade secret. I find sackcloth drenched and soaked, although it is somewhat cumbersome, provides some relief from the heat.
I'm just gonna roll something real quick.
Okay. Myself and the Prince of Timon possess the discipline, however, due to what is precisely being asked for, I would require something in exchange for tutelage.
And that would be, he asks.
Boons are the most common and valuable of our currency. As a member of our clan, of course, I'd have no problem giving you a discount of sorts on this debt. I would ask for 3 minor boons.
I'm sorry, you said free minor things?
3 minor boons.
Minor boons. 3 or 3?
Pardon?
Say free or 3?
3. 1 minor boon, 2 minor boon, 3 minor boon.
Okay.
That guy so has to be a Lasombra at some point.
I
Puppet
feel like
vampire.
so much I need to.
Yeah, Memnon would take that. I'll take that deal.
Okay. We will meet 2 nights from now. I will find you. We may begin our training then. However, I'm afraid I must be going. So please do excuse me. And yeah, with that, he vanishes into his own shadow. Leaving you all on your own. And the other Canaanites will kind of stand to leave. They kind of, they say hi to you, they engage in small talk, but nothing else.
Memnon rises from his seat and he'll look to Sister Madeline and Irene and bid them good night. He doesn't really expect.
You will notice that Madeline will just put a hand up as you're about to leave, and she will just say, "If you would wait a moment."
Very well.
Your skills are restricted to armaments, or is it also armor grade per se?
Out of character, what does the how does that work, Chris?
Oh, sorry.
Is my skills restricted to weapons, or does that include weapons and armor?
I'll say weapons and armor. You can do both.
Okay. Then yeah, Memnon will tell Sister Madeline, I can fashion armor and armaments.
I find myself in the need, rendered useless, very useless. You can roll a perception empathy if you want to. That's
Yeah, sure, why not? Go for it.
you actually succeed. There is something about it that just comes across a little odd, but like she does seem to waver on the like what word to use. A little bit too long, maybe something like that. But she just says, "I would wish for a skilled armorer. Hopefully, you are skilled enough to be able to fashion armor that would fit a person like me a little better than, well, than armor made for the noble knights. Their figure is not quite the same as mine."
I take it you wish it to be made of pure steel or some composite leather, perhaps with chainmail or such?
I would have it as strong as possible. I believe that would be pure steel.
Very well. Whenever you are free, you should drop by and let me take your measurements so that it fits you and only you appropriately.
I would be more than happy to.
I am on my way towards my home and can stop by the forge before then. Perhaps we can have that out the way, and then in the course of the nights to come, once it's completed, I can return it to you.
I have much to see to, I'm afraid, but she looks around. Perhaps you could take my measurements now? I do not think it would take too long.
If out of character, if the ST allows it, I'm not sure what I would use to make measurements. Or I would just have to either make mental notes and things. But yeah, I wouldn't mind doing it.
Madeline would know most of her measurements, honestly. I think. You know, she does get clothes every once in a while, and let's face it, her measurements don't change because they don't.
Naturally.
So like she will probably give you most of them. Her height, her arm length, her like pretty much. She's been measured for a dress or two before.
Okay. Yeah. Well then yeah, we'll take it.
Please let me know when payment is to be due, and if you could give me an assessment of how much this would cost, I would be more than happy.
As long as you can cover the costs, the material costs, I will say as a introductory gift, this one I will waive the fee of my labor. Perhaps somewhere down the road, you'll repay the kindness.
Of course I will. Most noble. He smiles quite genuinely to you.
Yeah, I don't know what to say the cost will be. If you want it made out of like pure steel and given your measurements, I'm not sure what exactly in-game that price will be related to.
I think the ST will let me know. I'm
Okay.
quite sure. I don't think you have to worry. So, well, we'll see. But yeah. And other than that, Madeline will bid farewell to Irene and to Memnon, and we'll just say, "Oh, and I do wish to once again make sure that you know that I expect and look forward to seeing you at the Elysium." Oh,
Yes, I will be there.
by the way, the rules are quite simple. No one is to frenzy and give in to their anger, while refreshments are offered. One should be quite sated in one's thirst before arriving. Everyone should be treated to the respect of their status. All other rules should be observed. Any and all anger, violence, provocations of a physical nature one will be thrown out and potentially, depending on the princedom, and in this case, most definitely, certain repercussions will happen afterwards.
I see. I understand.
It is a social affair. It is a gathering where elders and Scylla and neonates and inner fledglings can relax without any fear of violence from anywhere. It is a very ancient tradition. If preached well, that would be a bonus.
I understand this. We have similar traditions amongst, well, my former people. Come in peace to leave in peace.
Exactly. Chris, there isn't anything I'm forgetting, right?
Nope, you should be good.
Right. Just make sure.
Alright. If you mind if I end the scene now, because it is very late where I live. I have to be up in 4 hours, so I will end the scene there. Thank you, players for playing. Thank you, watchers for watching. Hello, new player. Thank you for playing, and we will see you all next time.